Cozy traditions feel good. And that includes your fall makeup look. From lashes for days to enhancing a smoky eye with your favorite shade of brilliant eye brightener. Thrive Cosmetics is your go-to for completing every fall look. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/cozy for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics. CAUSEMETICS.com/cozy.
Hello and welcome back to another scary episode. If you are new here, my name is Will, and each week I narrate your real life paranormal experiences as well as cover some famous paranormal cases along the way. As always, before we get into this week's main episode, I need to say a special thank you to our new Patreon subscribers who are Cami, Kimberly Hamilton, Kimmy Everett, Abby Wood, Tamsin Noble James, and Emma Z. Thank you so much for signing up to the show's Patreon, and if this is something you're interested in, you can find the link in this episode show notes or simply go to patreon.com/scaryaparanormalpodcast. Over there you can gain access to exclusive scary episodes as well as ad-free main episodes. Your support is much appreciated. But now, let's get into our first paranormal encounter. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. When I was young, my grandparents lived really close by. They were my father's parents. I have very fond memories of visiting them on Sundays. At that age, I was especially close to my grandmother, but as I got older, I started to gravitate more towards my grandfather, which is natural for boys, I guess. My grandfather was pretty gruff. He was a pretty blunt man. He had fought in World War II and the Korean War, and then went on to work as a fireman. He also did handyman work on the side, almost like a off-the-books contractor. He was the type of man who didn't say a lot more than he needed to. He never told me he loved me, not in words anyway, but I always knew that he did. As I got older, especially during the summers, I would go out with him on jobs and help him with his handyman work. I would make a little money doing it. I think those days were a part of why I became closer to him. There were little hints of strange or paranormal things during those years, but nothing too extreme. My mother once heard a man yelling in the apartment upstairs from us, even though no one was home at the time. And I do remember my grandmother and I had this odd connection. We would often end up wearing the same coloured clothes, or would seem to be aware of each other's thoughts or impressions in strange ways. It happened often enough that it stood out to us. About halfway through 9th grade, my parents and I moved out of New York City. I'm an only child and we moved about 20 miles north. Not too long after that, my grandmother got cancer. She had been a lifelong drinker and smoker, and eventually she died in her Brooklyn house. And soon after that, my grandfather bought a house on a lake in Virginia near his brother, and I would go down and visit him there from time to time. When I was in college, probably around 19, my grandfather was diagnosed with cancer. This was the second time for him, and by then it had already spread. it wasn't good. I knew he probably wasn't going to be around much longer, so I went to Virginia by myself to visit him. He was really sick, terminally sick. And because of that, he got tired really easily. And on this particular night, he went to bed early, and I stayed up for quite a while after him watching some TV. Eventually, I started to feel sleepy. I hadn't dozed off in the living room or anything. I was fully awake. I got up and I went to the guest room, which is where I was sleeping while I was staying there. This was a lake house in rural Virginia. There was very little ambient light outside, especially on the side of the house that faced the lake, which was where the guest room was. I remember the room wasn't completely pitch black. There was a small amount of light coming in from the kitchen down the hall, but it was really, really dark. It was dark enough that I remember holding my hands out in front of me as I walked in, just to make sure I didn't crash into anything. As soon as I entered the guest room, I saw something standing in front of the dark window. It was an even darker silhouette. The room itself, like I said, was already really dark, but this shape was just complete blackness. To me, it was very clearly the shape of a tall man wearing one of those flat cowboy hats. It reminded me of the hat that Lee Van Cleef wore in The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. In that moment, I wasn't scared. I didn't think it was a ghost. I didn't really think anything that clear. The best way I could describe it was that I was kind of frozen in confusion. I could see this figure very clearly, but I also knew that it could not possibly be there. And my brain just seemed to be stuck trying to process that. I also knew it wasn't a real life person. I was looking at something that I could tell logically should not exist in that room. So I just stood there like a confused idiot staring at it. It then turned towards me and started walking towards me. As it got closer, the only thing that changed was its size. The way anyone would look bigger as they walked towards you from across the room, but no details came into focus. I didn't suddenly see a face or clothing or anything else. It stayed the same black shape. It just got larger as it came closer to me. And I stayed where I was, trying to understand what I was seeing. And before I knew it, it was right in front of me. It didn't stop or slow down. It walked straight through me. As it passed through my body, I remember feeling tingles up and down my entire body. It was like a quick flash of numbness that went right through me. When I remember this happening to me, I remember I felt really confused more than frightened. Anyway, I turned around as it passed through me to look behind, and there was nothing there. And somehow, insanely, I just went to bed after that. I slept fine. I never had another paranormal experience in that house. In the years that followed, I went to grad school. I got a PhD in molecular genetics, and I'm now a college professor. I take my training seriously. That training drummed into me that all possible explanations for any observation remain possible until enough evidence has been gathered against them. And for that reason, I don't not believe in ghosts, UFOs, psychic abilities, or things like that. I'm not saying I believe in them, but I definitely don't not believe in them. I try to stay open-minded to any and all explanations, as I think all scientists should. And more recently, I've gotten into paranormal investigation TV shows and podcasts, including yours, and I find them incredibly interesting. In one of them, someone was retelling an experience and described seeing a ghost. She said something to the effect of, I was in a dark room where I could barely see, but I saw the outline of a person that was darker than the blackness of the room itself. And it was only then I realised, I think I saw a ghost back in the late 90s in Virginia. Since then, there have been little hints of things here and there, shapes darting in the corner of my eye. Times when knowing small things are going to happen seconds before they do. Stuff like that. My training tells me that these are probably odd misfirings of my neural circuits, or maybe a brief lag in perception between the hemispheres of my brain. Who knows? But for what it's worth, I'm certain that I saw ghosts in that guest bedroom in Virginia all those years ago, and I'm certain that it walked right through me. Thank you to Tom for sending in our first paranormal experience. And now, let's get into our next. I would like to stay anonymous for this story, so you can replace my name with Ralph. Here's what happened. In my life, I have seen what people call ghosts on a regular basis. It's something I've experienced throughout my life. So I'm not really unfamiliar with strange things, but this particular experience is one that still stays with me. One night I went to a football match. It was around 9 to 11 p.m. And by the time it was over, I was dead tired. All I wanted to do was get home, lie down on my bed and sleep. I live in an apartment building with 5 floors. My apartment is on the 4th floor. The building has emergency stairs on each wing and a lift in the middle block. Personally, I've never liked taking the stairs. I don't know how else to explain it, but they always give me a really creepy feeling, like someone is following me. Every time I take them, I get goosebumps. On this night though, the lift wasn't working, so I had no choice. I was forced to take the stairs. As I started going up, I began reciting prayers to myself. I already had that horrible feeling of being watched, and I just wanted to get to my floor as quickly as possible. When I reached the 2nd floor, I still had 4 flights of stairs to go before I reached mine. The staircase in the building had a sort of spiral design. You could look down through the middle and see the lower flights of stairs beneath you, and for some reason, something made me look down. And that's when I saw it. From the ground floor, there was a black shadow with a humanoid shape that started running upwards. I thought it was just somebody else taking the stairs. That's what my first thought was. But when I looked again, I realised that the speed it was coming up at was not normal. Then I heard a really loud screech. That screech still traumatises me to this day. The second I heard it, I ran. I had 4 flights of stairs between me and my apartment, and I ran for my life. I ran as fast as I possibly could. And as I was running, I could tell that this thing behind me was catching up with me. Somehow, I reached my floor. I remember sprinting towards my apartment, and thank God my family had not locked the front door. As soon as I got inside, I turned and saw the figure just outside my apartment. It was only a couple of feet away from me. And this dark figure was standing there completely still, staring at me. It had no face. It was just black. I then watched it return to the staircase area, and it disappeared. After that night, I had a high fever for about a week. I'm not sure if it was connected. Ever since then, I have never taken that staircase again. Even if the lift is under maintenance, I will walk to the other wing and take the other stairs instead. Thank you to Ralph in Malaysia for sending in our second paranormal encounter. And now, let's get into our next. I'm 46 now, but when I had what I think must have been my paranormal experience, I was about 12. It happened on a family holiday in Scotland. I was there with my parents and my two younger brothers who were 10 and 7 at the time. It was a caravan holiday, and my parents' friends came too with their two children who were around the same age as my brothers. We stayed in a remote caravan park in a place called Aberfoyle. At least, I thought it was remote. We had a separate caravan from the friends who came with us, but they were right next door. Everywhere we went, we had to drive. There were vast fields and open space all around us. I don't remember there ever being a path or a walkway nearby. And when you're a passenger in a car, you have time to really look at your surroundings. I remember being on day trips and thinking I had never seen so many cows or sheep in my life. They were just dotted around the rolling fields, and I used to wonder who they could all possibly belong to. On the day that it happened, we had been in Scotland for over a week, and we were coming to the end of our trip. My parents and their friends had found an activity centre. It had a swimming pool and 3 different water slides, a restaurant and some shops. We had a lot of fun that day, and we left the water centre in the late afternoon. It wasn't dark and it wasn't dusk yet. My dad had been driving, he was in the front, and our friends were in the car behind us. Me and my brothers always sat in the same places in the car. My mum was in the passenger seat, I sat behind mum, and one of the brothers sat in the middle and the other sat behind my dad. I feel like the surroundings on the drive back to the caravan site are important. It was late afternoon and me and my brothers were unusually quiet. I think we were all just really tired from the busy day. Outside my window to the left, I remember there being a stone wall about 5 feet tall. I remember the stretch of road my dad was driving on, and I also remember there was a lane for oncoming traffic. I only remember seeing a handful of cars. I remember there was a barrier that ran along most of the road, and behind the barrier was a large steep drop, and beyond that were fields as far as the eyes could see. There wasn't any paths or walkways or anything. I remember the radio was on, and then all of a sudden my mum shouts to my dad, "Watch out for that girl." And my dad responded saying, "What girl?" And my brothers are all looking at the windows saying, "Where? I can't see her." I could see her as plain as day on my left. She was standing with her back against the stone wall. She looked to be about 12, the same age as me at the time. She had a dark blue tin raincoat on. She had a skirt that was just above her knee. I remember she had white socks on with black school shoes. Her hair was dark brown to her shoulders and a fringe that was cut very straight across her forehead. I also remember that she had a camera hanging around her neck, which was sitting in the middle of her chest. Her arms were just by her sides. She was looking straight ahead. The car seemed to pass her in slow motion, and I could just take in all of her features. I don't know why, but I said nothing in the car, and my dad kept saying to my mum he didn't see her. My brothers were joking that my mum was tired and seeing things. So we got back to the caravan park, and my parents' friends came to our caravan to play cards and have a few drinks. As I came out of the bathroom, I could hear my mum telling her friends about the girl, and again my dad and brothers protesting they had seen nothing. I heard my parents' friends say, "What girl?" And then I said I saw her, and I proceeded to tell my mum what she looked like. giving her every little detail. My mum was agreeing with me, pointing at me, saying, "That's the girl." My parents' friends said that there was no way that she was there. They were 5 seconds behind us in the car and they saw no girl. She wasn't tall enough to climb the stone wall, nor could she have ran across the road, as one, they would have seen her, and two, she probably would have died falling down the steep hill. To this day, I can still see her like a photo captured in my mind. This girl by the stone wall. Thank you to Kelly for sending in our final paranormal encounter. Don't forget, if you have your own paranormal experience that you'd like me to narrate on the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com and it just might get made into a future episode. Please don't worry about the length of your paranormal experience, just try to include as much detail as possible. Don't forget to hit that follow button so you don't miss any future scary episodes. You can find the links for everything you need in the episode show notes. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your continued support. And join me next time for another episode of Scary.
Cozy traditions feel good, especially this time of year. And that includes your fall makeup look. From lashes for days with Liquid Lash Extension Mascara to enhancing a smoky eye with your favorite shade of Brilliant Eye Brightener, Thrive Causemetics is your go-to for completing every fall look. Whether you want a simple, just gotta get out the door routine, or fall glam that wows at all your favorite festivities, you'll always look and feel radiant with Thrive Causemetics. Plus, every product is vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients. Complete your fall look. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/cozy for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Causemetics. CAUSEMETICS.com/cozy. Cozy traditions feel good, especially this time of year. And that includes changing up your makeup look for fall. From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extension Mascara to enhancing a smoky eye with your favorite shade of Brilliant Eye Brightener, Thrive Causemetics is your go-to for completing every fall look. Whether you want a simple, just gotta get out the door routine, or fall glam that wows from the office to all your favorite fall festivities, you'll always look and feel radiant with Thrive Causemetics. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients. And for every product purchased, Thrive Causemetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Causemetics product, you're helping communities you care about too. Complete your fall look. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/cozy for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Causemetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/cozy.